Okay. I'm here with Tom Handler, a managing partner of Handler Thayer. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you.
Good. We're going to have a pointed conversation about business development, and I just wanted to get a little bit of a flavor of your background and how you got into the legal profession from law firms. Was it you started your own thing yourself, or did
I started in public accounting.
Okay.
And then I worked for, I started in public accounting, and I went to law school full-time and worked full-time.
Okay.
Which I'm not supposed to do. So some partners had spun off the accounting firm and formed their own firm. I was doing work for them. I did work for a not-for-profit that the deans of all the Illinois law schools were on the board of, and they were looking for anybody with an accounting or CPA background. So about 7 or 8 of us worked in a tax department for this not-for-profit legal service that was trying to deliver high-level services to poor people who couldn't really afford it. And I ended up running that group while in law school. And in the process of working my own tax practice, consulting with a law firm, working with this group, I met a law firm that's a high-end boutique, all CPA lawyers, and very high-profile clients. There was about 15 lawyers. And I started there.
Okay. And what was your, you mentioned when you were working briefly for that other firm that you brought in more business and you billed more hours and you wrote the article. Talk to me about the bringing in of the business. How did you get your first piece of business? How did that come, how did you work to get that? How did you connect to make those deals come in?
Well, I didn't do it overtly. When I worked at the legal service, I worked the most hours. I did a good job, and I was actually the most junior person, and that group was run by a Harvard law graduate, and he got fired, and I had his job in about 7 months. He wasn't very good at dealing with the code, and I was willing to work hard. So most of it was work ethic. I didn't really think much of it, but I think that doing the work and doing it right and turning it around in a reasonable time frame helped earn the confidence of the other attorneys who were more senior and much more sophisticated than I was, but I think they figured out they could count on me. And if I didn't know, I'd tell them I didn't know. And if I knew, I'd do the job. So the outside work came mostly from those groups, coworkers, people I worked with. And then in law school, a lot of my classmates had never had, they weren't business, they're poli-sci and history majors. They never had any of these courses. And so they were struggling with, tax and tax one and corporate organizations. They didn't understand, and you don't understand amortization and depreciation, you're going to have a tough time figuring out taxes and corporate finance. So I tutored a lot of my classmates through these courses.
Okay.
And they just come up and I'd help and say, no, it works this way, and the rules. And I think they figured out that I knew something about this area because I'd been doing it. So the tax courses came very easily to me, and I never really thought anything of it. And within 6 months of being out of school, these people were calling, and I got hired by a bunch of them. So it was really a very nice surprise.
Yeah, so I think between your excelling at your craft and then also, helping people out, helping them
absolutely
do what they, help being kind of a go-giver type of a person.
Yeah, if you want someone to help you, help them first and do it without any expectation of return. And in most cases, something good will come out of it. Worst case scenario, they'll say nice things about you.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, they'll actually appreciate it.
Right.
And best case scenario, they may send you somebody or use you themselves down the road.
Right. Okay. Got it. So talk to me about how you dug your heels in to build a practice and to build your book, and take me through that a little bit.
Well, I read a lot of data from the ABA section of economics, which any lawyer can buy. And they had wonderful data about legal specialties and the prospects for the future, the income, the prestige level. So they really had rankings of, legal areas from 1 to 83 by income and prestige. And they had income by size of the firm in every major city across the country and by area. And so there was a very interesting chart. It showed net income per partner, and I haven't looked at these in 10 years, but it would start off with one attorney, and it would go up, and then it would peak. The income would peak at about 20, 25, 30, and then it would drop. It would stay down until you were one of the 3 biggest firms in your geographic area that would barely beat the boutiques. So from a business plan standpoint, it would look to me like smart poker would say, be a boutique in selected areas where you can compete, or be with one of the largest global firms in town. And anything in the middle of that, on balance, is likely to mean more layers of administration and overhead management and not the corresponding income. So you actually lose income per partner because you're trying to be too many things to everybody. Unless you're really huge and scalable, you can't recover all those costs and overhead.
Okay.
Right?
So a lot of the mid-market firms that try to do everything to everybody, and they're not the biggest and they're not boutique, they're the ones that...
They're in a tough spot. Unless they've got particularly premier clients, it's just plain bad poker. The number tells you, the data just said that was bad
statistically
poker.
They're at risk.
They're at risk.
Okay. So, I mean, a lot of the people that listen to these interviews and that are out there are, these associates, income partners. They're people that they're not even at the point where, getting in front of a new prospective client is happening that often. It's really about how do they hustle to network or leverage their existing relationships or things like that. Any advice that you would offer up to our listenership regarding getting in the door, getting an at bat?
Sure. I would say, and I did an ethics seminar for the Chicago Bar Association and talked about quite a bit of this. But one of the things that I believe is that you cannot separate who you are as a person, how you live your life, from your legal practice.
Okay.
And so I think the bottom line is that individuals who are decision makers and own and control things like wealth and businesses, they want to be proud of their lawyer. They don't want to be miserable spending time with their lawyer. The lawyer is a reflection of the family. And so I've never believed in casual day. I've never dressed casually. I come in Saturday, khakis and a button down. It's a sign of respect for the client. And there's a lot of room for disagreement, but it's served us well, over the years. And if you go out and you're the party boy, you're the drunk, that's not going to bode well. People have a tough time distancing that from who their lawyer is on Monday morning. And so everything you do, how you treat your family, how you treat your friends, how you treat your neighbors, do you do charitable work? Do you give money to charity? Have you volunteered? Are you a true person trying to help others, or are you just in it for yourself? People can figure out very quickly who you are.
Okay.
It doesn't take many phone calls to figure out what's this person all about, and they're going to know what's in your heart. Who really are you? How are you living your life? And if you're not proud of what you're doing, then I wouldn't expect your clients to be proud of it either. And so if you start off with doing the right things and helping people and being responsible, that becomes your reputation, and that opens doors. People say, the glass will always be half empty for you because they saw you do something good, or you did something with no expectation of profit in it, or whatever it is. And so step one is don't try to put in place a marketing or relationship building program that's inconsistent with who you are and how you live your life. That's almost impossible. Now, you're not going to fool anybody doing that for any length of time.
Okay, so your personal life and your business life have to coincide, where you're treating everyone the right way, you're building up karma, you're doing good for others. So let's assume that we have that kind of piece in hand. What specific? I mean, you mentioned charitable, being charitable with your time and with money. At the same time, though, you also want to make sure your efforts are getting you where you want to go. Because if you spend all your time doing charity, but you're not actually building a practice, your financial future suffers. It doesn't always come around as quickly as people would like.
And sometimes it never comes around.
Okay.
Right? So I've been involved. First of all, I would only do not-for-profit or charity or volunteer work that you actually can live in and enjoy.
Okay.
Right? So if you do that, that's a good start. Because everything you do, if you're going to do it, there's only one way to do it, and that's to do it well. If you're going to go into something half-heartedly, that is not going to enhance your reputation. That's not going to earn anybody's respect. People can see when someone has a passion for what they're doing, whether they're engaged and putting the time and the effort and going the extra mile. And so I picked things that I believed in and were proud to be associated with, and did the best I could. And some of those resulted in no business, but certainly enhanced my reputation. You say that guy gets the job done.
Okay.
That guy is a responsible person. And other times I've been involved in those activities and it's yielded tons of business. And you never know how that's going to play out. But if at least you're doing things that you're sincere about and doing your best job, that will reflect positively on you, and one way or the other, that'll come around.
Right. I think that's something that most people don't do. They don't put out their best work, their best foot forward. They go along with the crowd and think that if they just participate, that they're gonna get something out of it. I think you're right that it takes a greater. My father's a retired attorney, and something that he didn't want to be on the school board. He wanted to be the president of the school board. He wanted to run the show, and he wanted to control it because he knew that's where the most impact could be. And he got even though he was sometimes against the teachers, they would thank him because he was so fair and he was exceptional, like you're talking about. It makes a big difference.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
Again, it's all part of the bucket. And I would tell people that I told my kids growing up, everything you do is going to have an impact on who you are and your reputation.
Yeah.
From grammar school, you want to bully kids in grammar school and pull the girls' hair? Fine. What do you think they're going to think 20 years down the road? You're going to do stupid stuff in high school, let your teammates down, ditch practice, go at it in a half-hearted way instead of giving it your all. Go out drinking the night before the big game. What, do you think people are going to forget that? They're not going to forget that. At the end of the day, those people are going to know you down the road. It's the cumulative impact of all those little drips in the pond that will ultimately determine who people think you are.
Right.
And you can't hide that. In this day, with social media, you can't hide who you are. Everyone's going to know who you are, exactly who you are. And this information has never been more available than it is today. And so more than ever before, the repercussions of everything you've ever done are part of who you are.
Okay.
And to try to distance that from your practice of law, you're fooling yourself. It's not going to happen. It doesn't mean you can't change or improve or get better. It just means that's something you've got to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's already played a role in the hiring game. You don't just hire somebody. You look at their social media, you look at their Facebook pictures and all this stuff. Now it's all open season.
We're very focused, in addition to psychological testing and profiling and all the interviews everybody else does, we're looking for exceptionalism. Class valedictorian, all-conference, all-state athlete, Eagle Scout, fraternity or sorority president, varsity sport, extensive volunteer work, first violin in the band. Doesn't matter what it is, it's something that showed that this person has a passion, understands excellence and exceptionalism with the hope that that understanding will be brought to the practice of law. You will have the most success if you have strong relationships and you're viewed as a technical expert. And that's either a combination of experience, you've invented things, you devised strategies, you won the big case, you invented a structure no one else thought of, you've invented planning protocols or approaches that are not common in the industry. You are capable of writing articles published at the highest levels. And so I was told that step one, to be an expert, considered an expert, you need to be able to write. And if you can get your articles published in scholarly publications, that's a big step in the right direction. He said, but that you can do early in your career, because when you write, you control the venue. You can talk about what you want. He said, before you speak, you better be pretty far down your career, because when you speak, anybody can pot shot you, anybody can ask a question. It's not your agenda, it's whatever anybody else wants.
Yeah, nobody can. You can say if someone can yell at the writing, it's not going to matter.
You had better be the expert.
Yeah.
And so, those who can write are capable of being top 1,000. But if you can't speak as well as write, you're never going to be top 100 at anything. I've probably written over 200 letters, maybe more, for kids trying to go to law school. I've met with more than that, of kids thinking of going to law school, who people call up and say, look, would you mind, I know you were a professor, your partners teach at 5 different law schools, would you mind taking my kid to lunch and just tell them about it? I'm absolutely delighted to do that. You take the kid to lunch and you give them all the experience I didn't have. Tell them what books to read. Tell them everybody takes the summer off for the first year and reads the whole first year materials. Tell them there's homework the first day. I didn't know that either. Tell them what law review is. I didn't know what law review was. So are you going to write for law review? I'm like, what's law review? Well, people get the jobs. I'm like, I guess I know. What's involved?
Yeah.
I had no clue. And I showed up the first day. I didn't do the homework. I didn't buy the books. I didn't know there was homework. I didn't realize while I was working all summer, all my classmates took the summer off, were sitting on Oak Street Beach, and read all the books for the first year. They come in, their books are all outlined and highlighted. And I'm like,
wow.
what the hell is this? Yeah, so you start behind the 8 ball because you don't realize that's the name of the game. If you don't kill it the first year, you're done. Because the first year, at least the summer associate position, is the first 2 years at the minimum, and you're hired, before your third year is ever over. So it's all about the first 2 years. Third year grades are almost irrelevant, right? You're going to be done by then, typically.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot to know, and so it's a pleasure because I'm trying to help those kids for all the things I didn't know. I may have been the most unsophisticated starting law student that existed. I knew nothing. I read nothing. I was just busy. I worked that whole time and didn't have time to do any of this stuff. And so I just got there cold and realized, boy, I got a lot of catching up to do. And it was not a pleasant surprise. People were answering questions about all the cases on the first day, and I'm like, what cases? Right? Bad surprise.
Yeah. Well, listen, Tom, I've taken up a lot of your time. I really appreciate it. Tom Handler with Handler Thayer. Thank you very much for the interview. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.